Welcome to the world of the Leviathans.
The story begins as the known world is submerged in water and humanity declines from its former glory. A wrecked building is shown where a boy tries to stop a little girl who seems to be his little sister from going out to sea. Well, in normal circumstances it is really dangerous for a little girl to go out to sea alone. However, the boy isn't stopping the little girl because she might drown or something. Despite the big brother's warning, the girl insisted on going out to sea, making the big brother nervous for her. The boy then jumped into the water and in the water, some tadpole-looking creatures in a hole below it are now revealed why the boy was trying to stop his little sister from going to sea. There were sea monsters, and so the boy quickly emerged from the water to her little sister. However, they are too late to return to the building, so the boy makes a quick decision to climb onto a small building ruin. But then the sea monsters started attacking them, and a monster missed the boy's leg, but the other monster started encircling them. The siblings huddled together as the monsters started attacking their foothold. The foothold then started crumbling. The boy then reminiscence on their presumably dead father's words. He needs to protect his little sister at all costs. Well, that's what brothers are for. The boy then mustered his courage while holding a cool-looking sword, while the monsters were attacking in every direction. However, their foothold collapsed, making them fall. They quickly climbed up a plank as the monsters stared at them like a bunch of delicious appetizers in a buffet. The scared boy started panicking while not wanting to die. I mean, that ain't your decision to make. Then we cut to a flashback, under the sea. Floor, the boy and his dad are hunting for food, and then the boy's name is revealed as Boda RMC. The father is teaching Boda ways of surviving and expecting the unexpected and able to survive. After their underwater hunt for supplies, they then lift their groceries using some underwater bubbles because I don't know what they are called. The duo then emerge beside a tiny old boat, where the little sister Lita was introduced. She is watching from above. They are said to be looking out for birds around. However, they were still unlucky that day. The kids seem to have no mother and rely only on their Chad dad to look out for them. Why Chad? You'll find out later. In the boat, they have their own designated duties. While dad takes care of hunting and boat maintenance, Boda RMC is tasked with the food and water, and Lita, on the other hand, is in charge of laundry and keeping the boat clean. That's some nicely trained kids right there. One more thing, the dad is also tasked with ruins exploration underwater. He also trains Boda on ruins exploration and hunting. The kids' only source of entertainment was apparently the stuff they found underwater while exploring. However, there is one absolute rule on the boat. When darkness dawns, everyone should be under the boat. Because at night time the monsters emerge from hiding and invades the top deck looking for food. As they huddled together, monsters started to surround the boat. The kids are scared, but the dad keeps them safe on his broad chest. Boda asked his father about the monsters, and the father then told Boda that the monsters live everywhere there is water. He also told him about the harpoonists who caught Boda's attention. The father told him that harpoonists are warriors who fight sea monsters to protect their homes from sea monsters, and the father revealed that he is also a harpoonist, and showed him the tattoo of a harpoonist, and explained about the stars, but the poor boy had no idea what a star was. It is because the kid has never seen one, because they're below deck every night. As morning came, the family came out below deck and checked on the top deck. However, the top deck is a mess. Because of the circumstances, Boda asked his dad if he could explore the ruins to gather supplies for the boat. However, the father reacted differently because of the dangers of the ruins and ultimately banned them from going to the ruins. Boda, however, argued that they needed supplies and he is old enough to explore the ruins. But the father is thinking about his son's safety. Boda, however, argues that he isn't stupid like the fish. Poor fish. However, the father dodged the question by saying he would bring them anywhere they wanted to go, except the ruins, which gave Boda a disappointed look. Then told his dad that they were no different from the fish trapped in the fish tank, not being able to go anywhere else, and the boat was their tank. The duo's argument is then interrupted by Lita, who spots birds in the distance. A moment later the family arrived at a building ruin, which was the same building shown in the opening scene. The kids then excitedly cheered as they said they saw other people, but the father muffled their mouths and asked them to stay on the boat as they were unsure if the people were good or bad. Then the father will explore the ruined building alone. As the father pulls out his sword he reminds Boda that if something happens to him they have to leave the island without him. He proceeded and dove towards the building's shore. The father explored the building up to its top floor, however, what he found on the top floor were corpses instead of living humans. Meanwhile, outside Boda noticed what seemed to be a drowning person in the water. While the father is still busily rummaging on the top floor, he finds some antique explosives. He noticed a hole in the wall but the steel bars seemed to be bent inwards suggesting they were attacked from the outside by something big judging by the damage caused. Piecing together the events that happened he realized that they might actually be on a monster's territory. He quickly returned to the kids, however, Lita told him that Boda was trying to save someone from the water. In disbelief, the father switched his gaze to the creature but it suddenly disappeared. The father realized something that the kids had no idea what it was. From an aerial view, we can see a giant shadow underneath the family's boat. The father's face filled with cold sweat and hastily grabbed his kids. As the scene cuts underwater, a creature underwater is shown, its size rivals Godzilla. The creature has a humanoid face on top of its giant mouth, filled with human-like teeth. In the next scene, the monster attacks the boat, and the boat is cut in half and dropped to the sea. While the family is still recovering from the impact, the monster's tail looms over them as it hits the boat, missing them by an inch. The family is thrown into the building's shore and the father immediately checks on the kids, showing how good of a father he is. Lita lost consciousness but she was safe. However, the father is pierced by an iron bar on his stomach. The father instructed Boda to take his sister to safety while the father was left behind, raising a death flag in the early stage of the story. The dad then uses his Chadness to pull himself out of the iron bars, as the monster approaches and looms over him. The father noticed that the sun was hurting the monster's skin, something was off. The father said to himself, why is the monster coming out though it's daytime? Which according to the father hurts the monsters. Suddenly the monster noticed the fleeing kids, and the monster chased the kids to the building. When the monster is about to reach them, Boda throws himself into the building while carrying his sister. The monster's mouth then pierces through the walls of the building. The monster can't see them inside the building, however, the monster uses its whisker to attack them randomly inside. Boda frantically dodged the attacks, and then all of a sudden the attack stopped, then his father showed up. In excitement, Boda shouted to his father, however it was all a trap set by the monster to lure the kids. Its whiskers can actually mimic a person's appearance. The whiskers then pulled Boda out and about to be eaten. Boda tried to resist, however it was no use as the monster was too strong for the kid. In desperation, Boda shouted for his dad. The father then with a dramatic entrance showed up and slashed the monster's whisker, saving his son. As the monster screamed in pain, the duo landed with the dad's injury already bandaged. I'm still wondering how he managed to do that. He then taunted the monster, irritating the monster in the process. The father admires the size of the Leviathan in front of him, thinking to himself that it must be even bigger than Skatum. Which I have no idea who that is. The father said to himself he can't lose because it's either him or the kids will die. He charged at the Leviathan intending to win no matter the cost. The monster's claws grazed the father's face as he dodged the attack, and the father slashed the monster and followed up with a few more slashes. The monster shrieked as pain crept to its giant body. The father leapt into the air and stabbed the monster's head, thinking that because the monster is not in the water he might have a chance of winning. However, an attack hits the father, sending him flying to a wall. The father vomits blood as he aches in pain. The monster charged again for the next attack. In quick thinking, the father used the pulley on top to escape the monster's attack. He used the pulley's pull to stop the monster's mouth when he was about to get swallowed. The monster's blood sprays all over the place. As the scenes unfold, Boda is watching on the sidelines, closely watching his father in admiration. Believing in his dad's ability, back to the fight, the monster is in pain as the father relentlessly attacks the monster. However, an unexpected turn of events happens when the pole stopping the monster's mouth breaks. causing the father to be impaled on its gigantic teeth. The father, while on the brink of death, switched his gaze to his worried son, reminiscing on the times they spent while surviving in the boat. Watching his son's worried look, the father drops his sword, and for whatever reason he has one of the explosives he found is with him. He then stabs the explosive into the monster's head. A huge explosion roared as the shock threw Boda away, while the monster's supposedly dead body slowly sank down the sea. Boda shakingly gets up to look for his father, who disappeared with the monster's corpse. Rest in pieces, Dad. Long story short, Boda woke up on a storm raging outside, while beside him was his sleeping sister. Missing his father, Boda reminiscence about his father who protected them for many years, but now he's gone. The next day, while Boda is busy rummaging through the stuff left from their boat, his little sister suddenly asks him a daunting question. "Where is Dad?" Lita asked. Boda took a moment to think how or what to answer. However, Lita started crying, asking again if their father had already gone to their mother's. Tears formed in Boda's eyes as he tightly hugged his little sister. Long story short, Boda and Lita took all the useful stuff left from the boat. Lita's stomach grumbles as they are working, indicating she is hungry. Lita, however, denies that she is hungry as her stomach grumbles again. Boda decided to hunt and look for something useful to hunt. Boda found some old forks that reminded him about his father's teachings for survival and made a spear using the forks. However, as Boda reached the shore, fear daunted him because of the previous attack. Luckily, Lita found some crabs crawling around the building. They then ate the crabs instead. While his little sister is eating, Boda devises a plan on how to collect drinking water for the two of them, but it isn't enough. Remembering his father's teachings, Boda then gets to work, and puts some cans filled with seawater inside some plastic bottles. As water evaporates from the cans, the vapors were collected by the plastic bottles, leaving the salt inside the can. After the process, they tried drinking and cheered happily as the method worked. To some of us, it might be simple, but come on, give the kids some slack. Gaining confidence, Boda then assured that they could make it on their own. Long story short, the siblings started exploring the building and made it to the top floor littered with corpses. They got scared, however Boda snapped out of it, encouraging Lita to do the same and look for something useful. They found a container filled with fuel, and they also found one of the bombs that their father used against the Leviathan. Reminded of the fight again, Boda started doubting himself if he could protect his little sister and survive their current circumstances. Unsure if the monster their father fought is still alive, Boda promises to use his father's sword if it returns. While examining his father's sword, Boda found a small switch and pressed it. To his surprise, the sword propelled him forward and slammed his face into a pillar face first, giving him a nosebleed. In the middle of his little fiasco, his little called out to him she found a door leading to the basement. He went down the stairs as fear constantly crept on him. As he goes lower, he finds a fishing spot and instantly dove down the water, following a big fish that he wants to catch. He caught the fish he wanted, thinking he finally had everything sorted. They have a source of drinking water and food now. As he threads his way back, he notices something shiny. As he looks around, a shiver crawls through his whole body, realizing what they are. 100 Leviathan eggs are around him, and then one of them breaks out, clawing at him. Boda swam as fast as he could, rushing to the surface, as the monsters one by one started hatching. Who would have thought that the building is actually a monster lair? One of the monsters caught up to him, but Boda stabbed its eye with his fishing spear. He swam even faster as they almost caught up to him. Swimming his father's sword around, Boda tried to defend himself, but the monster leapt into the air ready to eat him. He dodged the monster and hurriedly closed the basement door behind him as the monsters roared behind him. Boda covered the door with rubble and immediately looked for Lita. He found Lita outside and called her to get away from the water. However, Lita called him back and pointed to the water as a shadow of a person could be seen. Realizing what that shadow meant, Boda froze in fear. Remembering everything that happened, he is certain that the Leviathan is still alive. In an instant, Lita jumped onto a little boat, yelling that it was their father. Boda tried telling Lita that it wasn't their father, however the clocks they used before for curfew suddenly rang, and realizing that it was too late, Boda hurriedly followed his little sister. And this is where the opening scene starts, where the monsters pour out from the hole under the building. Long story short, Boda and Lita were standing on the plank and Boda, holding onto his father's sword, slashed one of the monsters attacking them. However, more monsters attacked from behind. Luckily Boda reacted in time as they jumped over the attackers, straight to their boat. As the monsters attacked their wounded sibling, the two kids paddled away back into the building. However, those giant tadpoles were still after them. Boda asked Lita to hurry up as he tried chopping the stairs, but the planks were too thick for Boda to slice, and then the horde of oversized tadpoles poured into the building. Boda chopped with all his might on the stairs, but it won't budge. The tadpoles then started climbing the stairs and one managed to injure Boda's back. The stairs finally gave in due to the tadpoles' weight, and a moment of silence erupted as the kids and the tadpoles stared at each other. Realizing the monsters can't reach them, Boda sighed with relief. But the moment the siblings turned around, Boda's old friend greeted them. The Leviathan with a spear in its eye loomed over them. The tadpole then pinned Boda to the ground, incapacitating Boda, but Lita in a fit of rage fought back and stabbed the creature's other eye and iron bar. However, the monster attacks blindly. As he loses his eyesight, it uses its nose to find Lita, pinning her to the wall. However, because of the plot armor, Lita survived as her brother fed his old friend the gasoline. Boda dodged the attack and quickly recovered, then created a spark using the sword. Boda burned his tadpole friend. The oversized tadpole wiggles around as it burns, causing the bomb on the top floor to fall. Boda hugged his little sister to shield her from the shock created by the explosion. Due to the bomb, the building collapsed, killing some of the unhatched ones below and the others chasing them. However, there were still survivors, and they immediately attacked the kids. While in the rubble of the building, Boda tried his best to protect them. However, there were just too many monsters. As the two kids are about to be eaten, plot armor kicks in and someone from the distance attacks one of the monsters. To the kids' surprise, it's a real person. Apparently, a girl wearing only her underwear came to help them. The monsters then switched their attention to the newcomer. The horde of monsters charged at her. She brought out what seemed to be a gun and started shooting at the monsters near the two kids, barely missing them. Boda realized she was shooting harpoons at the monsters, as some of them charged in the girl's direction at full speed. Boda is immersed in watching the scene unfolding in front of him. A monster creeps behind them. Luckily he reacts in time, but his attack is stopped by the monster, shocking Boda. The monster was rained on by harpoons shot by the girl, saving Boda in the process. As Boda looks in the girl's direction, she is in the middle of reloading her weapon. However, she doesn't have time to reload as monsters attack her from every direction, causing her weapon to fall. She then unsheathed her two very big weapons and charged in the direction of the monsters. With her two very big weapons in full display, she stabbed the first, slashed the second and chopped the third, then skidded her way to the others, showing how strong her two very big weapons were. Boda watches the sushi making, admiring how big her weapons are. Some monsters try creeping on her, however it is no use as she falls, stabbing the last bearer of the tadpole DNA. Boda and Lita were dazed in shock as they didn't know how to react, thinking she might be a bad person because of the extremely close attacks earlier. They are still anxious even though she saved them. But then the girl asked if they were okay, calling them lucky to meet a harpoonist in the middle of the ocean. Boda realized that she was one of the harpoonists his father talked about before, the warriors that fight the monsters to protect their homes. The girl introduced herself as Kana from the Union Busan. That was the first time Boda heard about Union Busan, but then their attention shifted to a giant shadow closing in from the distance. As the shadow closes in on them, the Union Busan sign is shown. A moving fortress floating in the water.
Hello guys, if you ever made it here, please leave a comment and subscribe because this is my first time doing a recap. See you on the next video.